Today, we join the people of Uman, Ukraine in mourning a heartbreaking tragedy that unfolded in the pre-dawn hours of this day, April 28, 2023. A Russian missile had slammed into a 9-story apartment building, claiming the lives of 23 people, with 4 of those being children, and at last account, 17 residents having been pulled alive from the rubble. The story of this horror unfolded as Inna and her husband Dmitros stumbled back to consciousness after a sudden and powerful blast, realizing almost immediately that the chaos and noise was a Russian rocket, slamming into their 9-story apartment building in Uman. They quickly dashed to the room of their 17-year-old and 11-year-old children, only to be met by a cloud of fire and smoke. Racing to save their youngest child and Inna, her husband wasn't sure where to turn, not knowing what to do as his kids disappeared in an instant. The devastation is almost palpable as emergency responders arrive to begin the task of finding survivors, as Inna stands in stunned silence, hoping against hope that her 2 children had been carried away by the blast and that they would be found alive. Rescue crews rushed to the scene of the crash, and Dmytro Vinohradov, a 22-year-old emergency worker, is among the first responders. He arrived just as fire crews were still trying to extinguish the flames, but still he pressed forward to find any alive survivors, eventually finding 2 older women and 1 man on the 7th floor, trapped behind a falling concrete ceiling. Fortunately, they were not injured, but dazed and stunned, and he and his colleagues were able to get them safely down from the burning building. Dmytro, unfortunately, also encountered several dead bodies in his search for survivors, including a 10-year-old boy found in pajamas, and a little girl with blonde hair who had no visible injuries, but she was dead. A heartbreaking scene indeed. But there is still hope here in Uman as rescue efforts continue in desperate attempts to find survivors, and families continue to cling on to hope that their relatives could still be alive, maybe having taken shelter in the basement. Uman, a town known for its beautiful parks, and which had been relatively quiet since the start of the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, met with this tragedy at the same time that our main character Inna was hoping for Dmytro's safe return home. Instead of his safe return, Inna and her family are now dealing with the unimaginable devastation of a missile strike that changed their lives forever. As night falls and the death toll rises, we ask that you join us in prayer and in reflection on this day, reflecting on the need to keep our families in our thoughts and in our prayers, as well as to look upon international conflict with more reason and more respect. May the families affected by this tragedy find strength and solace in the days to come.